Chrome extensions that are just simply amazing that I've used a lot. I've incorporated them into my district, and it has really sped up kind of workflow with different forms or different information we need to get between different departments in the building, whether it be forms to drop a class, whether it be recommendations for certain interventions at our school, for students to fill things out. It's really, these two have really been a big time saver. And they are called Autocrat. They're called Mule. And funny enough, they were both created by New Visions for Public Schools, which is on East 42nd Street in New York. So if you are one of our friends from New York, you happen to live around there, go tell them thanks. But yeah, they're really good. I mean, they're amazing. So as far as Autocrat, what it does is it's going to, over here we'll give you kind of the step-by-step, which definitely I would check in with both of these. Little warning. I would definitely, number one, check for other videos too. But number two, if you have a personal Gmail account, if you don't create one, it's free, but I would definitely test these out before you kind of go live in your school. I've been using both of these, specifically the Autocrat one. Mule is pretty straightforward, and you'll see that. But the Autocrat one, I've been using it for probably around, I can't even tell you how many years. I've been using it a ton. But I feel like every time I go to set it up, I always mess up something, including this past summer when I worked on implementing it for something we do in our department. So what I always do when I'm thinking about building one is I either test it in my personal Gmail account, or if I'm running it and it's kicking out data if it's supposed to kick out data to a teacher, an administrator, or something like that, I'll give someone, I have a couple, an admin at my school that's kind of always my guinea pig, and a couple teachers that are my guinea pigs, and I'll just let them know, hey, just a heads up, you're going to get a lot of emails that have something to do with the test student. Just ignore them. I'm running something. So Autocrat, what it does is it takes information from a Google form that kicks into a spreadsheet and create a document. I said that kind of weird, but it'll make sense. And then Mule is really taking information and turning it into an email. I became aware of this through our data processor, Eric Garniot. Whenever we would have to fill out something for him regarding scheduling, like if we were looking to add a seat for a class or something like that, we'd fill out a Google form and it would automatically kick an email out to us. Now, I know Google Forms, there is an option where you can have that, but honestly, those emails are kind of busy, right? It basically has the form again, same format. I don't read through those. These are, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, really simplified, and boom, and right to the point. And there are some things in my district where I actually use both of these for the same form. I might have a PDF or a document go to a certain group of people, and I might have an email that just has information filled in from what was submitted by the form go to parents or students or another group of people. I know it doesn't sound like I'm really speaking clearly right now, but I think as I go through it, these will all make sense. Okay, so New Visions Cloud Lab, they are amazing. So first up, let me go to my folder for signing up. This is what you guys filled out to sign up to get emails from me, depending on what I do in the future with all this stuff. So I'd say first off, you want to think about what you want it to kick out, right? What is it you want it to kick out? Is it an official district or school form? Is it something funny? Is it something that can be manipulated later? What is it? Excuse me, my mouth was getting dry. And start with there. So I decided for this, for showing how Autocrat works, I made this tech confirmation email. So those of you that signed up to get emails from me, this is where you would have gotten you would have gotten this exactly, right? And now you're saying, okay, this looks weird. These has these little carrots in there. this is the first step. First step is figuring out what is the customizable language, right? So, you know, if John Doe filled this out, I said I wanted to say John Doe's Autocrat sample. So what I need to do is think about what information am I looking for and where do I want it in there. So you can even see the reason I split up first name and last name was that I actually want the first name to pop up again. Okay. If I was just looking for, if I was just going to use the name once, I might just put name or something like that. That's the other thing. Number two is these tags where you want data to be pulled from the spreadsheet. You need to remember what they are, because later on you're going to see Autocrat, once you install it, it is going to run through your template. You're going to decide what the template is. It's going to look for these carrots, and you have to decide which column from your spreadsheet fills in these answers. So you can see I have first, I have last, I have first, I have dad joke, I have yes, no. Yeah, so this one's pretty simple, right? Some other ones I make are a little more complicated, so that's why you want to keep it, you know, it doesn't matter how long it is. Like if this is longer than what the actual answer is, let's say your name is Joe, J-O-E, that's okay. Doesn't matter. It's going to obviously adjust it. The other thing is that if all the questions aren't required, let's say I didn't make first name required and someone left it blank, this isn't going to stay as first. It will just erase itself. Okay. So first thing, what is the document you want to create, and what is the information that is pulling from the user, the student, the parent or guardian, the other staff member, whoever that other person is, what's it putting in there? Okay. Like I said, now this one's a little more tongue-in-cheek. There, for a lot of them, I'll use forms where it says classes student selected, or what's their birthday, or their name, or their email, their ID number, this, that, whatever. Okay. So that is the first part. Second part is, what questions do you want to ask to get that information? So I know what I want. Excuse me again. I want their name, I want a dad joke, do they want to sign up for emails? So I got first name, last name, email address, would you like future emails, and then write a dad joke. Okay, so those are all in there. Then I think we all know this, but in case you don't know, you go to responses, and then you would want to tie it to a new sheet. This is what my sheet looks like. Pretty standard, right? This is just something I do. I like to gray it out just so I know what the top is. One thing, this doesn't go with Autocrat. This goes with everything, with Google Sheets and Google Forms. Whenever you make a form, it doesn't automatically wrap the text. You have to set that up. But even with new submissions, if your text is longer, it's going to do the clip one, to where it just puts as much text as it can and the rest disappears. Even if you click on the whole row, text wrap, it's not going to do it. You're going to have to go back in. But anyways, so this is what it looks like. Okay. So Autocrat, I didn't show that. Autocrat web store. So you would install that from Google, the Google Marketplace. I've already done that. So then once it's installed, go to your extensions. You can see I got a lot. And then go to Autocrat, and it would say open. And then if it's your first time, it's gonna be grayed out. It's gonna have this really cool squiggly line that says like create new or new job. But I already have one because I wanted to be able to make this video relatively short and really hit the meat and potatoes of what you need to know. Okay. So you would start creating a new one. I will show you it first. First, give your job a name. I don't think that really matters. Maybe if you have different conditions where different jobs would run on the same spreadsheet, this is one of those times where it might be good to visit another video. But I'll be honest, I've only had one Autocrat job per spreadsheet per Google form. So that you might want to, I named it Ask a Tech. Doesn't really matter what I named it. Okay, so now the template, you would search. You could do create an example, have them do it, but you would search from your drive. It already found mine, so we're all good. Here are some recently used ones that I've done in the past. Okay, so then it's going to take a second. Obviously, mine's already done it. So here you can see it's found those carrots, right? And as you know, a Google form on the sheet it creates, the first row is always the questions. So right now it is going to populate here all the headers from each column, right? So for first, what do I want? What is your first name? For last, what do you want? What is your last name? Dad joke, yes or no? So I went through and mapped those. That's why it's important for when you decide what your carrot is, that you know what it's tied to. Like if I just put FN, LN, DJ, like I might, with only what is it? 1, 2, 3. With only 4 questions, it's not that big of a deal. But if I have a form that's asking a lot of questions, okay, wait, what were those 2 letters? That's why it's a good idea to make it something you're going to know. Next. All right, so how do you want to name your file? Because every time this gets submitted, it is going to create a new file. So a lot of times, most of, maybe all of the Autocrats I've used have been in regards to a specific student. So it's been pretty easy. One of my questions has always been student name. So in one way, shape, or form, whether it's been, put the student's last name, comma, first name, put their first name, comma, last name, what's the student's first name, what's the student's last name, some way like that. That's what I've always titled it. And then where it says right here, Autocrat sample, this would be what it would kick out. So if at the end of the year, our teachers, with about a month and a half left of school, they fill out, these at-risk forms called senior failure forms, it would kick out student's name, senior failure 4, and then the teacher's name or subject, something like that. Type. Do you want a Google Doc or do you want a PDF? A lot of times I do a PDF because what it's creating is something I don't want it to be able to be changed easily. Those could be official forms like that the senior failure form comes in a Google Doc because then I have to go in there and check boxes. But if it's something that's kicking out information you don't want changed, or if it's something that's going to kind of kick out a template and then someone's going to have to sign it. So when students drop a class for us, I use Autocrat to kick out a PDF, but then students are signing it on an app called Notability on their iPad. I don't want them to be able to go in and change wording. So that's why I would make a PDF. So that's the next thing is you got to decide, do you want it editable or how do you want it to look too? Because you could have a Google Doc where they can't edit it, but I always, if it's something that's not going to change, I like making it a PDF just because PDFs are going to keep format no matter where you're viewing it. Okay. So what folder do you want it to save in? If you don't pick anything, if you don't have a folder, you can do choose folder up here. Oh, nope, don't want to remove it. If you don't, I guess, it's just going to flood your inbox, or it's going to flood your drive. So make sure you know where you want it to come from, or where you want it to store. Dynamic folder, I always skip that. Merge condition, skip that. All right, so here's the cool part, and here's where it changes a little bit. Do you want to share the doc? Yep. So, okay, so as you can see right here, I'm sending you all a Google Doc that filled out that form, but you can only view it. I can change it to edit, you can manipulate it. So if you want to keep it Google Doc to keep it clean, you can. Just how I roll. Really I make it a PDF if I know eventually it's going to need to be like physically signed, whether it be printed out and signed, whether it be someone going into Preview or Adobe, that was one of my other tips, inserting their signature, or the student signing it on Notability. Collaborate, no. Send from generic, no. Reply, email address, no. So if you do that, that is going to always come from you. So with my school, we found out that since I set it up, no matter what counselor was filling this out, it would always kick out an email from brian.linhart@d214.org. Not a big deal, right? Except when I'm having parents of students that I have no idea who they are, or they're not on my caseload, reaching out to me, asking me questions about it. So then talk with my boss, they talk to the district. So we got a student services email account that I have access to, and that's where I create a lot of forms that all students can sign. Okay, so now this is where it gets a little tricky. Now instead of using the carets, you're going to use the $, the first column, and no capitalization, no punctuation. You're just going to put where we're finding that information. So what is your email address was one of the questions. It's back here somewhere. So I put, what is your email address? One word, first letter is capitalized, just like APA 7 formatting if you're doing citations. But this is who are you emailing this to all the time. Now, let's say I wanted to get every copy. Then I would just directly type in my email, right? There have been some forms where, you know, my boss, he wants it sent to him, so he has a document of everything. So his just regular emails put in there. Someone's dropping a class, I throw our registrar's name in there because she needs to know a record of it. So that's what's nice about this, is that you can put dynamic information, which is like, hey, this info is going to change depending on who submits it. You can always put static info, making sure everyone gets it. Now this one's really cool, and this one I've done a couple times. Reply to. So what you can do is, let's say this is coming from a generic account. And let's say you're setting it up for your whole counseling department, and each counselor is filling it out and their email address is getting recorded. You could put reply to, and let's say one of the columns was counselor's email address, right? And they answered that with their email address. What's cool about that now is when they get this email, no matter who they get it from, if they hit reply, it's going to go to that address, not the address of the account that created this. So I guess I could have used that originally when I was saying people were emailing me. But yeah, that's a fun little trick. Whenever I use that though, I make sure to put something in the body here that is saying, hey, if you hit reply all, it's going to go to X, Y, and Z. Now it switches back to the carets. So yeah, this one is confusing. New World School, like, come on. So now I go back to the carets, and you could create what you want this email to say. If you want to do bolds, or you want to do highlights, or you want to change sizes of things, you know, that's where it's going to use HTML5, like for example, or HTML, excuse me, I didn't put 5 in there. If I want this whole thing to be B, bold, I do caret B, and then caret/B, okay? That can get a little thick, so I would say just maybe avoid that your first couple times. Okay, hit next. Now this one, when do you want this to run? When do you want these forms to be created? When do you want these emails to be sent? I've always done run it on the trigger, right? As soon as someone hits submit, kind of runs through, does its thing, and then poof, it sends out the email. You know, if you're concerned that a student, a teacher, a parent, a guardian, someone has like their email set up on their phone for push notifications, like as soon as they get it, it's sent to them and it alerts them. You know, you might want to run this on a time trigger. Like, when do you want to run it? Every 6 hours, every 2 hours, right? So I don't know. I always do run it on the form, right? Just so it's like instant. Hey, you filled this out. Here's your email. Boom, done and dusted. Then you hit save. And it's going to be all set up. It's going to be ready to go. Okay. So with Autocrat, let's zoom out. You're going to see after you set it up and it's run, it creates these extra columns here. Don't delete those, right? I'm going to fill this out. I actually did fill it out and saw that there was an error. So I was thinking about going back and fixing it, but I decided to leave it because I wanted to show you how things might get messed up that are kind of triggers to let you know where to go look at stuff. So let's say I'm going to fill this out. All right. So let me show you what happens when everything gets filled out, right? So what is my first name, Brian? What's my last name, Linhart? Email address, brian.linhart@d214.org. Would you like to get emails? Yes, I would. Type in a dad joke. So I got a good one. It's my wife saw me doing lunges. She said that they were a big step forward. Pretty good. Okay. So then it kicks out. So let's look right now. Boom. Just populate everything. So you're going to see when you set this up, these 4 columns that I was talking about, this is just going to update everything that's going on, right? So it started running it. And then here, this is the ID. I don't know what the ID is for, to be honest, but what's nice is that it's going to give you a link, 2 links. One is just going to give you what's the web address, and then the other one is going to have the web address tied to the name of the document. So boom, all good. And like I said, it doesn't wrap the text, even though I set it up. Each time you have to come in here and you have to go to text wrapping. Kind of annoying. So what's the email look like, right? The email looks like this, but wait a minute. You can see, obviously something was wrong in the way I set up Autocrat, because instead of saying Brian Linhart submission, it says Brian, what is your last name submission. Everything else looks good. Hey Brian, attach the PDF, all that good stuff. Now, what does the PDF look like? Figure it out. Here it is. That's where Brian Linhart is. Hey Brian, what's the dad joke? I'm still laughing at it. What did I select? Yes. There we go. So now I can see here, okay, everything's looking good in everything that I'm seeing except for the subject of the email. So I can go back to Autocrat, extensions, Autocrat, open. And now I'm going to skip through to that email, and I'm going to see if I can figure out what is wrong with it. And this is, I'm kind of glad this happened, because this is the example, gives a good example of why I said that you need to have sample people you can send this to. You can use them as people that get the information, or use your personal Gmail account, maybe set up a couple kind of fake ones. Okay, everything looked good, so I can skip that, skip that, skip that. Okay, now it's the email, and for the subject, yep, I'm missing one of the carets. So if I go like that, okay, last name had it, I'm going to save it. So now next time I run it, everything should look fine. So you can see Autocrat is awesome, but, oh, I forgot to show you, in the folder, right, ask a tech emails, where did it save to? Let's, oops, this is the one I deleted. Let's look up Brian Linhart's Autocrat. What folder is it in? It's in the tech emails folder, so it just hasn't updated in my browser yet, but that is why, there it is, right? If I want to take it one step further, I can maybe make a folder that had certain submissions. Maybe if it's a form I'm going to keep every year, I could put the school year, and then at the start of each school year, go into Autocrat and change that folder. So yeah, you could really go down a rabbit hole with Autocrat, but it's definitely awesome. So now Mule is same stuff, just kind of the opposite as far as how complicated it is per se, right? How much you got to tweak it. It's really just for if you want to kick out a clean email, this is the way to do it. So if I go to Mule, okay, so my Mule example is simple questionnaire. First and last name, where are you from, right? You're out to the US, where are you from? Check all the resources you'd like to be emailed about. So this is the other one you guys are filling out if you decide you want to be emailed, right? So now I'm going to go to my spreadsheet. Oh, you shouldn't be seeing that. Usually I think these are hidden, but you know, I'll show you in a second what it is. Okay. So now when I go to extensions and Mule, I'm going to open it. Like I said, Mule is not really for tying documents to it or anything like that. It's just for giving answers to responses. And it's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to send form on submit. Select the sheet that contains the email addresses. Form 1, form response 1, excuse me. templates and conditions, send for all rows. Okay, how many unique templates do you want? We're going to change that to 2. No, I'm going to change it to 1. Leave it to sent to all rows, but I just want to try to edit the template, but I don't know if it's going to let me in here cleanly. Yeah, it will. So now if I edit the template, here's what is nice. It is basically, if you don't want to have to type in anything, it does it automatically for you, right? So, right, let's get rid of this. If I want this to send the email address, now this could be a little bigger, so you want to know the questions you have. I just click that and it automatically fills it in. What's your email address, right? Let's say I had other questions with email. I could CC, I could BCC it, right? And now the subject. Again, I like making it someone's name. So I'm going to say, what is your full name? Form Mule responses. So now it's going to pull your name. This is where I just made it one question for Mule responses. So here it's going to include all the questions. And I could put, again, up here, I could put some static information. If it's something where you get responses and your supervisor needs to see it, or you want to see it, or someone else needs to see it, you can just automatically put that email address and they'll get it every time. Here you can customize it. I'm going to copy this because I do want it to go back. But now when I click on a question, what it will do is it'll put the question and then it'll put the carets to get the response. So if I wanted to do, if from outside the United States, where are you? It's just going to put it twice. So I could leave that. If I wanted to say where from outside of the US, and then it knows the answer I'm going to make is there, right? The other thing, this also uses HTML. So let's say I wanted their answers to be bold. It's 1 caret and a B, and then a slash and a B. If you want to know about like HTML codes, Google it, right? Because there's a ton with like highlights and strike through and italics and all that stuff. I use them for a couple, but not too much. Okay, let's put everything back the way I had it. Language could do auto translate. I've never done it, so I can't tell you how good it is, how accurate it is. But again, you could search for that. So if I'm going to save all and send, it'll show me a preview if I have any of these already filled out. So there's one already filled out from when I did it. Nope, there's none. It's not going to do that. All right, so let me fill it out. All right, so what is your first and last name? Brian Linhart. Email brian.linhart@d214.org. If you're from the US, where are you from? Illinois. Outside, I'm skipping that. Check all the resources you'd like emailed to. Brian. I want all of it, right? Submit. Thanks. Okay. Formula is just going to show this template one, which is usually hidden. This is where it's going to have all the behind the scenes stuff. Let's go ahead and hide that again. And then my responses are, there they are, right? So when you fill this one out, this one, you know, these aren't right? This is just for you to see what it looks like, because at my presentation, you know what? Never mind. I will update this so that if you want all of that information, it will be links to it in case you didn't attend ASCA and you're watching this later. So, for Mule, if you want a custom email that you don't have to write, set it and forget it. Autocrat creates docs, creates emails, little more kind of tech behind the scenes. So hopefully one or both of these are useful to you. They've been great for me, been great for our school district. Yeah, hope it helps.